Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as we wrap up CK Reads 2021. My name is Megan. I am the Circulation Services Librarian at Chatham-Kent Public Library. I'm joined by my colleague, Andrea. She's not our Circulation Services Librarian. She is our Collection Development Librarian. We will be your co-hosts for this evening. Before we get started, for anybody who's new to Zoom, you should see a menu on your screen there with a chat function. We will be using that tonight. If anybody has any questions for Sheena, please pop them in the chat. We promise we will get to as many as we can this evening. So as you may know, we celebrated our 5th year of CK Reads this year. CK Reads is our community-wide book club where we invite everyone in Chatham-Kent to read the same book. And through discussions and programs, we hope to bring the community closer together through a shared love of reading. Even though CK Reads looks a little different this year, we are very pleased to announce that we have exceeded our goal of 500 readers for the 2021 program. As a part of our 5-year celebration, we did select 2 books for this year's program, The Lost Ones and Fight Like a Girl by Sheena Kamal. Sheena is an award-winning author whose Nora Watts series has drawn comparisons to Stieg Larsson, Gillian Flynn, and Jo Nesbø. Sheena's first young adult novel, Fight Like a Girl, was recently named as a finalist for the Arthur Ellis Award. Please join me in welcoming virtually Sheena Kamal. Hi, Sheena.
Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here.
We are so happy to have you here. So grateful for you taking time to be with us tonight. We've got a couple of questions for you, and then we'll hope have some audience questions as well. I think we're gonna have a fun evening.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Great.
Perfect. So I'm going to start off with our first question. One of the most popular questions at any of our author events is the author's origin story. I know that you started your career in film and television. What made you want to become a writer?
So I was an actor for a bit, and that was really wonderful. It was a wonderful experience, but it was really frustrating at times too, because I wasn't really going out for auditions for things that I liked a lot. A lot of the things that I was going out for were stereotypes, and there weren't a lot of opportunities at that time for me. So I wanted to get into screenwriting, and that's how I started. Was that I was hustling and trying to be a screenwriter and working in various film and TV offices, and just being, putting myself forward and being like, pick me, please. Like I'm good. I swear I'm good. But nobody did. And so I was like, I wanted to prove to myself and to the world that I am a good writer, because I felt like I knew that I had something in me, and I knew that I could tell stories, and I love language. And so I was working in research and development for a production company in Toronto. And I had this idea for a novel and a character that kind of came to me, and I just knew that I could not keep throwing my ideas at in the film and TV world, like throwing them at that wall and hoping that something will stick. It wasn't working out, so I decided to quit my job, and which I did. I walked into the office one day and I was like, you know what, guys, this isn't for me. And then I left and I took off and went to Vancouver to write The Lost Ones.
That's quite the story, Sheena. I was reading some of the articles that you yourself have written about your time in film and TV. So I was hoping you'd share a little bit about that. So that's really great. And obviously it was a bold move, but it worked out for you. And I know you've said before that, and you just did as well now, you felt like you had that book in you. How long was Nora Watts kind of percolating? How long was she with you before you actually took that leap? Was it something you were thinking about for a long time?
No, it was almost immediate. It was, I had the idea, and I just knew that I couldn't keep doing the same thing over and over. And I just felt like not that my life was crumbling, but it was going nowhere, because the thing with creativity is that you kind of have to find an outlet for it. And the outlet that I had chosen wasn't working. And so I had to do something else. And Nora herself was so present in my mind. I didn't put a lot of thought into her before I started writing her. She sort of just came to me, and I figured her out on the page. So I didn't do huge backstories. There was a line about the blues. I forget what the exact line is in The Lost Ones, but as soon as I picked up on, she's a blues singer who doesn't sing anymore, that's what I knew her heart. And that's when she opened up for me. And she opened up in the writing. So I didn't really think too much about it. I just when I moved to the West Coast, I didn't have anywhere to go really. So I kind of like was bouncing around a lot. I still had my actors union card. So I did stunt work, I did photo doubling, I did stand-ins, I got some acting gigs and whatnot. But whatever kind of to make that work and to really explore this character in this world and everything that's happened in the book. Not that it didn't happen to me, but in terms of the atmosphere, like I felt all of those things very very deeply while I was writing, and it was because I was so new there. I think that kind of came out in the books.
I think definitely the atmosphere. And when I was reading the book, Nora, it's amazing that was your first novel. And like, it's just she feels so real to me when I was reading it as a reader. And to hear you tell the story of how she just came to you, obviously this was meant to be for you. So it's so great to allow us to share in that success with you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I feel like she's a gift. I really do. I had to put her aside after the third book, but I picked her back up for a short story. Someone asked me to do a short story for an anthology in the UK, and they said it could be about anything. And I was like, maybe it could be a Nora story. And as soon as I started writing her again, I was like, oh my God, yes. So it's almost like a part of my own personality that I slip into. And it's so easy for me to slip into her head. I think that the times that I've heard this described very well is with actors who, they go away for a while and they come back and play a character that they've played before for years, and they just sort of slip back in. And I think that's what it's like with Nora.
I'm just curious, did you have a similar moment with Trisha, like a key that you kind of unlocked that helped you get to that character?
Yeah, so Trisha was never meant to happen. It was a fluke as well. I'd wanted to write something about Muay Thai because I've trained Muay Thai in the past, but I didn't know what exactly. And I went to Rome. Travel actually helps me a lot in terms of my writing. So I went to Rome to work on my third Nora book. And I was there for a week. And all of a sudden, like there was a heat wave. I was just almost delirious. Like it was so uncomfortable, so hot. And I guess I hallucinated this. I sound like a crackhead. But I sort of hallucinated this character, and there was this line in Fight Like a Girl, rule number 1 of being a woman from Trinidad, be hella fierce. And that line came to me and I was like, yes, I know her. And so really, like, Nora and Trisha are characters that just with a little key, a sentence, and something about the blues music or something about being a woman from Trinidad, or like that just like opens everything up. And it's kind of like a ride. It's like a rush that I experience and then kind of follow it through. And I've never been able to recreate that with any other character that I've tried to write.
Okay, so next up we have a reader question. So we did ask for questions ahead of time, but if anybody has any other questions they want to ask, you can just add them in the chat and then we'll ask at the end of our conversation. Your books often deal with heavy, gritty topics. How do you get yourself into that mindset? And on the flip side, what do you do when you need a break from that?
I mean, I think looking back that I was very depressed when I wrote the last ones. Like I was experiencing a new place and I loved a lot of Vancouver, but just personally, I was kind of not in the greatest mental space. And so that's how I was able to write the lost ones. And also, my background is in political science. So my education is in political science. And so I tend to be a news junkie, and that affects you after a while. So yeah, it's definitely something that I still struggle with, some of the darkness. And even with the later Nora books, I've found myself shying away from guns, gun violence, things that are too gruesome. I do personally shy away from, unless I think it's really necessary. With the Lost Ones, one of the things that I wanted to do with it is that when people have a weird idea about thrillers, and they look at thrillers that are that have, you know, a dead woman at the beginning or something, and it's a female body being violated. And so, but it's, and then it's the job of the detective or the police, whoever the police guy or woman is, to solve that mystery, but you still have this dead female body. And I kind of wanted to show something a bit more personal. I wanted to show an experience, how someone would experience trauma. And yeah, and it did take me to a very dark space, I think. And it's taken me a long time to kind of move away from that. I don't know if I fully have, like, well, we'll see. We'll see if I pick Nora back up again, like if that is as easy to me. But yeah, it's definitely one of the toughest parts about writing her.
I just want to change directions a little bit. When we were preparing for our program tonight, we did a bit of a deep dive on your TikTok.
I saw that. Okay.
Which you're very funny, by the way. If anyone hasn't checked it out, at Sheena Kamal Writes on TikTok, and Instagram is the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your TP, I won't spoil it for people, but there's a video that involved Toronto Public Library. I know some of my managers are on this call.
Oh,
it was very funny. I think you'll find it funny. Please check it out. Anyway, I wanted to ask more about your writing journey TikTok videos, which are so genuine and lovely and kind to all these people who are starting out in writing or who are really aspiring to be a writer. What was the motivation behind sharing that journey with people and kind of delving into that and taking all these questions from fans?
Yeah, so really, I'm not on Twitter, and I don't really like a lot of social media just because it doesn't feel like a natural fit. But with TikTok, it kind of does, because I think it's a fun, creative platform, and it can be serious too. Like, there's a lot of potential there. And one of the reasons that I wanted to share my writing journey is because I'm self-taught. So I think a lot of writers, I see them just going in circles because they don't think that they're good enough, and they take all these classes, and classes can be great, and if you need them, great. But I didn't take any writing classes, and I think that sometimes it's okay to try something and not hold yourself back by maybe becoming a little too involved in the nitty-gritty of like how to write rather than why you write. And I think that's kind of what I focus on. So I wanted to share that side of the journey as well, and also just to reach people, because I say a lot of negative things about social media just because I don't understand it, and I think that a lot of things about social media are dangerous, and not good for your mental health. But I like TikTok, and I know that's probably kind of because it's not the best in terms of there's just a lot of like, there's a dark side to that app as well, but I do feel like I want to reach people, and for the first time in my career, I understand how to do it in a way that doesn't make me go crazy.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that. So that's great that you found that outlet. And really, they are really well done. So as someone who has always aspired to be a writer myself, it's been nice to watch those videos. So thank you for sharing those. And then just to follow up with that, you now are inspiring people to write. Is there someone out there that inspires you?
I would say always my mom. My mom is, so we're from Trinidad, and my mom, she has the biggest imagination out of anyone I've ever met. And you know, my childhood has been filled with this like boisterous, loving, imaginative, influence in my life. And she'd won a writing contest in Trinidad once, that took her to the States for a little like trip, as a prize. And as like life took over, she had kids, she had family, like all these things, and that kind of took over for her. But there's such a love for reading, a love for story, and we talk about it a lot in my in our relationship, and she constantly inspires me, and I think that she's one of my biggest influences. Also Roxane Gay, I love Roxane Gay. I kind of like I don't stalk her, but like I'm not on Twitter, and I check her Twitter page every day. Maybe I do stalk her. but I do love Roxane Gay a lot. So yeah, I love how, like, what she has to say about writing and just being genuine with the world, and also having her boundaries. I think that's been a great experience for me as a writer to witness how she manages that.
And Roxanne's found your books, right? I saw that she had tweeted something about, I think, the third Nora Watts books, and then she read the whole series and loved it.
Well, so I actually just posted a TikTok about this. So this is what happened. So the story is, I went to one of her signings, and one of her events, and I love her so much, and I needed some advice at that time, because what had happened was that I'd written The Lost Ones. I had an agent, but when I was pitching to agents, there was this dude who said something kind of rude to me, like he kind of insulted me a little bit, and it was the first time that I'd kind of come up against that kind of negativity in my writing career, because I just started, I was self-taught. I didn't know a lot of writers, and negativity from other writers was something that I hadn't experienced at the time. So I went to one of her events, and I just said, hey, like, I have an agent, and I do have a manuscript, but I had to deal with this negativity, and it affected me on a personal level. How do you deal with that? And she was really, really kind. She spent like 2 minutes just saying, it takes so much hard work to finish a book, and then it takes so much to get an agent to even look at your work and to take you, and so that you finish something and that you got an agent, that is an accomplishment. You have to be proud of yourself. It takes a lot to get there, so be proud of your journey. And it was exactly what I needed to hear. So when The Lost Ones was published, I went to another one of her events, and I was like, hey, look, you won't remember me, but this is what happened. You said this to me. My book is now published. And I just want to say that what you said really meant a lot to me. And so she read The Lost Ones first. And then
That's such a great story, Sheena. Thank you for sharing that. I just want to back up a little bit. I've got a comment here I just want to read. Not a question, more a comment from Jess. She just wants to let you know that she loves that you're self-taught. That is such a good thing to know. And social media can be dark, but it's also very uplifting and positive if you follow the right people and groups.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And along that kind of same line, if you could, what is one piece of advice out there that you would give your younger self when you started your writing career?
I think I started my writing career exactly when I needed to. And I needed to get to that place to get that out. And if I was to give my younger self advice, I don't know, because I wouldn't change the journey. I mean, maybe like now I could change some stuff, but but then I really needed it. I needed the struggle. I needed the failures. I needed all of that stuff for me to just be like, screw everything. I'm going to Vancouver and I'm going to write this book, because it had taken, it needed that build up for me to just sort of break and be like, no, this is not how I want my life to go. And this is not how I see my creative life going. And it's definitely not in Toronto, although that's where I am right now. Yeah. So every journey is so singular. I don't know that I would change anything.
I think that's a great answer. I think that's almost, almost better that you wouldn't change anything, because that's, you are where you need to be, like you said. So that's wonderful. I just want to back up to something when we were talking about Fight Like a Girl. And you were talking about training in Muay Thai. How did you come to that sport and it be such a part of your life? I bet a lot of our people watching tonight maybe hadn't been introduced to the sport until they read your book.
Right. So nepotism is how I got my best friend from high school owns a gym in Toronto, and he was a Muay Thai fighter, and now he owns a gym and trains other fighters. And so I would go to the gym because he gave me a reduced membership. Now I pay full price, but back then I was an actor and I couldn't afford it. So he gave me a little discount, friendship discount, and I just loved it. I love that sport. And one of the things I love about it is that well, first of all, it's the sport for me. Like for me to train a martial art, it would be that one. But also the gym feels like a community space, and it feels like an extension of my friend's personality. So whenever I go there, I feel like it's like a home, it's like a community, and it really saved me several times in my life, because when I was frustrated, when I didn't know what to do, I would go to the gym. And I train. I'm not a fighter, I train. And you can just stay there for hours. You can stay at a Muay Thai gym for hours and just watch people do. Sometimes like people will be off to the side doing their homework. It is a community environment. And then you have this other side to it, which is the training, which gives you so much discipline. It's good for your body. It gets all the anger out. Like sometimes when writer's stress gets to me, I'll call them up and be like, can I come to the gym? I just need to hit something. And that's what happens. So it's definitely made a huge, huge impact in my life, for sure. And Fight Like a Girl came about so quickly because I just spent so much time in a Muay Thai gym. That is kind of where Fight Like a Girl is based.
Have you found a substitute for that during COVID?
Sadly, yeah, I do. Right now, I do a ballet bar classes online,
Yes.
which is so hard. I need to be fit. Like I'm just one of those people who I kind of, unless I'm physical, I'm not really happy. I need to get that energy out. So yeah, I've been doing some ballet bar stuff, which is so incredibly difficult, but no impact with like Muay Thai. So it's been easier on my body for sure.
Okay, perfect. And Steph, our children's librarian, she asked in the chat if you would share a little bit more about your stunt gigs that you did before.
Right. Okay. So basically in the film and TV world, they look for stunt doubles to match actors, but when there are small brown people, they don't have a lot of options. And so because I'm physical, I was trying to be an actor or whatever, I got a call one day, do you want to double? And I was like, okay, well, what is it? And they're like, oh, it's a fight scene and a water scene. And I was like, oh, it's fine. It ended up being a fight scene on a boat on Lake Ontario, maybe November. And it was a fight scene. And then I had to jump into, I was, there was a fall into the water.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Ontario, November. I thought I was dying. But then the stunt itself was not difficult. And I did a few more doubling children because I am quite petite. I'm like 5 feet tall. So basically for a while, whenever they needed someone to double a small brown child, they would call me, and that's what would happen. But it was fun. I love it. Like if I can do that work again, I would love to.
Awesome. Okay. As you narrated the Fight Like a Girl audiobook, not that we see a lot of authors get to do, what was the experience like?
Amazing. I loved it. Loved it. So I'd wanted to be an actor initially, I wanted to be an actor. No, I did. Initially, I wanted to be an actor. So I'd done a lot of training. And then when I started writing and publishing, I couldn't go into full-fledged into the acting again. And I didn't really want to, but I would take classes still. So I did some Shakespeare classes and would kind of go different places to do that. And then when they asked me to do the audiobook, I was like, yes, because it's voice work and I love voice work. I'm a bit off my voice these days, but when I'm on, I'm on. And it was such a fantastic experience because I really got to, when you write a character, but when you read it out loud, you bring it to life. So it felt Trisha is such a big part of me. And the audiobook helped her get even further inside because I was just bringing her to life, and that it was fantastic. Really.
If I can gush for a second, I loved your audiobook. I must have missed the first part where it says that you were the reader. And I remember texting Andrea and saying, I don't know who's doing this book, but it's so good. Have you listened to it? So for anyone on the call who has not had a chance to read Fight Like a Girl yet, I highly recommend the audiobook. You can get it through CKPL on Cloud Library. and through Overdrive.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that, because like sometimes you don't know, right? And I had a lot of fun doing it, so it's great to hear that people like it.
That was great. If you read anything else, I will be the first person to listen to it.
I would love to do that work again. Yeah, I think, what's funny about writing for me is that it's opened doors to so many things. Living a creative life and living an inspired life, and I'm so grateful for it. Reading the audiobook was something that I'd never thought I would do, and then doing it, just, gosh, like we're all here because we love books, right? And we love stories, and it's just another way to bring stories to life.
And it really does. So it's great that, as Andrea said, we don't often see authors getting to read their own books. So to add that extra element, that because Trisha is so meaningful to you, and such a part of you, it's great that you got to bring her to life, and you really did. So
Thank you.
great job. And someone else said that they also didn't realize that you read the book, and you were amazing.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
Something, just to keep going with Fight Like a Girl, something that we talked about in our CK Reads discussion group was, we posed the question, what character would you like to learn more about? And the answer resoundingly was Trisha's mother. Is there any chance that we might get more of her story? Because it's such an interesting, fleshed, even though she was a secondary character, so fleshed out and so fully realized. Any chance we might get more from her?
That's the first time that I've heard that, and maybe, I mean, I wouldn't, I'll have to think about that. I mean, I loved writing her. The thing about Trisha that was that her voice is just so raw, right? And Ma has to be a bit more reserved, and so it would be a matter of getting into her head a bit. And like, would you rather see the book focused on Trisha but more Ma, or like taking Ma as the main character?
I think they wanted like a prequel type of story.
Oh, shoot. Okay. What's funny about that story is that, so Ma's origin of being a maid and going to work for a family and then having an affair with the man of the family, that actually happened in my family. So there could be something there. I'll have to think about that. I've wanted to delve into it, but it's so personal as a history that it would take the right kind of thing to do. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Thank you for giving it to me, because maybe I'll look into that a bit more. It was not something I've thought about, though.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, we'll be watching just in case you do decide to ever bring that story to life.
Okay. We got a question in the chat. What made you choose mystery as the genre to start writing?
I think it just happened naturally. I love thrillers. I love mysteries. Actually, I love all kinds of books, and the Lost Ones always presented itself to me as a kind of crime book. But because I've not taken any writing classes and stuff, I didn't have the sort of can lit mentality of mysteries and thrillers being less than. And that's something that I only discovered when I published, was that people sometimes don't think that they're good books, but I love them. And I think they're as good as any other genre, right? So it was just a thing that happened with the specific idea. It presented itself as this kind of story. And like I said before, like I didn't do a lot of plot thinking about it before. It just sort of happened, and it was based on things that I read and saw and thought about, but not within the parameters of the story. So yeah, it's only when I started writing thrillers that I realized that I actually really like them. I love the way the plots move, and the crime fiction community is a great, welcoming, loving community. And that's on kind of a personal writer side, as well as that I get so much support from this community. So yeah, it's just a wonderful space all around. I would love to write like a bubbly romance one day, but I don't think that's I don't think sadly. Sadly, I don't think it's me. But yeah, it definitely, maybe I'll think about that. Look at thriller romance.
I'd read it.
Gonna say readers at CKPL, they love mysteries and thrillers. So is there any authors or books you'd like to recommend for people?
One of the best books that I've read in years is My Sister, the Serial Killer by, I think, I always pronounce her name wrong. It's Oyinkan Braithwaite. I think it's Oyinkan or Okinian. Like, I think my mind just messes up the first her first name. But yeah, My Sister the Serial Killer is so short, it's so witty. I've never read anything like it. It's a very, very interesting and cool little book. So definitely check it out. And set in Nigeria, I believe.
Okay, perfect. Sounds familiar. So I know we have it here. And Amy typed in the author's name in the chat if anybody's wondering. Okay, and then another question we got, what author would you love to meet and have a fangirl experience with?
Do you know what is that I don't think I don't want to meet my heroes. Just because you know, when you build them up like that, and then I've had experiences where I've met authors who maybe I was not such a fangirl of, but like I like them, and then I didn't love the meeting aspect of it. So it I think that for me personally, I love authors on the page. If I would hang out with anybody, I think I would hang out with Said Jones. I love his Twitter and his social media feed, and he wrote a book. It's a memoir. It's called How We Fight for Our Lives, I believe, and it's brilliant. But he's such a fun personality, and I just love to kind of pick his brain for a bit.
Okay, and then we just got a comment. Everyone loves a bubbly romance, though. So when you turn to romance, we're ready to embrace it.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Maybe post-COVID.
I think I'll have to use a different name.
Okay.
People say that you have to use different names, but I don't know. I like using my name on all my books.
That's fair. Okay. Is there a fiction trend or trope that you'd like to see die out, or is there one that you'd like to see more of?
I don't like the trope of like the suspicious nanny. Just because my mom does that job, and so I'm always just like, oh. I see it from the other perspective. So yeah, that's the one. I love let's see, in terms of mysteries and thrillers, I don't have a favorite trope. I'm good at voice. I don't have a favorite trope. But I do, for romance, I love friends to lovers arcs a lot. Like, a lot of people like the enemies to lovers arcs, but I prefer friends to lovers arcs.
More heartwarming than the enemies to lovers, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and more real, because I mean, do you meet hot people who are your enemy? I don't meet a lot of hot enemies. I do meet like hot, nice people though sometimes, and yeah.
Apparently in fiction and movies all the time. So we're just not going to the right places, I think, Sheena.
Exactly.
We have a question from Sarah. What was your approach or writing process different for the adults, for the Nora Watts series versus your teen audience with Fight Like a Girl?
With Fight Like a Girl, I thank you for the question. It's a good question. I did not plan to write the book, and it sort of just happened. And I had a first draft of it in a week, so the process was like it was just like, who knows what the process was? It just came out, and I didn't know that it was a YA. It was my agent at the time who said that it was YA. So I didn't write specifically for a young audience. And I like that because it doesn't talk down to young people at all. It's just, it is what it is. I do find that if I get pushback on the book, it's because it's not sugar coated enough. And I think a lot of people expect that, but it's not that kind of book, because I thought I was just writing a thriller about a young person. Or like a mystery crime novel about a young person.
Do you think you'll write more young adult fiction if
it comes up, I'll write it. For right now, the next thing I'm working on is a haunted house story set in France, and that's for an adult audience. So maybe after that, I'll do something that's a little bit more geared towards teens. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
And for the new book that you're working on, I think I saw somewhere that you actually lived abroad for a little while in France while you were working on it.
Yeah, so I went to France to see someone, and I ended up staying for 3 months because where they were living was just the most stunning place. It was amazing. It's in the Rhone Alps. And so you had the mountains and you had these lakes, and I just finished writing a book, and I didn't plan to start another one really. I had some ideas, but then when I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is where this book is. So it happens quite often like that for me.
I feel like that's a great way to get inspiration by actually going. I think all of us are a little travel starved right now in COVID, so to be able to hear about people traveling, it just seems like such a luxury right now. We
I
have
wish I could travel right now. I had to come back because they'd kicked me out of France, but that's the only reason I'm here.
hopefully you'll get to go back soon and we can all travel again. Heather would like to know, are you going to write another Nora Watts book after No Going Back?
I would love to. And there have been some discussions with the publishers and stuff. The thing with No Going Back is that I left it in a place where I left Nora in a certain sort of mental space. And then so to pick her back up again, I would like to do something different with the character. And I'm not sure if they'll let me, because at a certain point, it's like whether or not they're going to buy the idea and buy the book. And so there's a lot of weird things that you got to consider. I would love to write another Nora book, though. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I do definitely want to take her in a bit of a different direction so that it's not, because there's an emotional core to her that can go to a very dark place. And I did go to very dark places for the 3 books. And so to move on to a 4th one, I would like for her to have not a little, but I would like for her to have more lightness in her life somehow, and to actually write her in that way would have to feel right.
I think that's a very good answer. Very good political answer to that question, Sheena.
Thank you.
Okay, before we wrap up here, will you play a little rapid fire question game with us?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna hit you with some questions. First thing that comes to mind, we tried to do some fun ones, so we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
Where is the strangest place where you've ever worked on a book?
Detroit.
Okay. We are very close to Detroit, so I'm sure some people can maybe relate to that.
It's a strange place.
Yeah, fair enough. How do you start your day?
Coffee.
Good answer.
Mhm.
What is your first travel destination post-COVID?
France.
How could you not, after what you just told us about where you were?
Oh my God, the cheese. There was a fromagerie like right in the village that I was in, or like next door. Oh God.
I have not been to Europe for a very long time, but I still think about the French cheese. So yep,
Yeah, it's like it's so weird. Yeah, it's like as I think about France, I think about cheese. Like that's true. That's actually true.
yeah, I think I don't blame you for not wanting to leave till they kicked you out.
Yeah.
If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
To be invisible.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because then I could ride the TTC for free.
Yep, that's a great answer. So nothing nefarious, just you don't want to pay the TTC fare. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to be a deadbeat. Right. No, not a deadbeat, but like I just want to, go places where I shouldn't, listen to people, eavesdrop.
Sure. Nothing bad in that. Just want to, do what you want to do and not be seen. That's fine. Do you have any hidden talents?
I can do the splits all 3 ways.
That is a talent. And then our last rapid fire question, is there a classic book that you have lied about reading?
No, but I have lied about watching Star Wars with men just because like they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, fine, I watched it. Like, who cares? Yeah.
It's an easier answer.
Yeah. But not about books. Like I will say if a book is I just like didn't like it, even if a lot of people thought it was great.
And I think that is okay. As librarians, we can say life is too short to read books you do not like. So
yes. Yeah.
Okay, that ends our rapid fire questions. We should have had a jingle for that. So we wanted to wrap up. We're getting close to our 45 minutes here with a fun question. What are some of your favorite things that you watched, read, or listened to during quarantine?
I loved the Netflix show Shadow and Bone. That was one of my. You didn't like it?
No, I'm laughing because Megan has watched it twice already.
Oh, really? Okay. It's so good. I've not read the book.
Good.
So it's one of the few things that I've watched where I deliberately did not read the books first. So I really love that. And there's something kind of a little purer about YA fantasy that kind of goes to an imaginative place. In terms of reading, I've been reading a lot of dark stuff recently. Oh, I did read Emily Henry's Beach Read. For that's light and bubbly for you. And it was pretty good. There were 3 Jack Reacher references in there, and I appreciated that. So.
That's a lot of Jack Reacher references for one book.
I know, right?
Yeah. Our children's librarian, Stephanie, has chimed in. She loves Shadow and Bone. She would like to know if you're going to read the books now. And a follow-up question, do you now have a crush on the Darkling?
I mean, everybody loves the Darkling, but I honestly love the Sweethearts. I like the Mal character, but I mean, like he's young, so like, you know, it would not be appropriate for me to be lusting after him. So age appropriateness wise, Darkling, yes, but like actually character wise, I prefer the solid good guy.
Are you going to read the books now, Sheena?
Oh, that's right. No.
No.
No, I mean, I should ask, what's the name of your children's librarian?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, should I read the books? Okay.
Capital letters.
Okay. Oh, Stephanie, because you said so, I will read the books now.
She's going to be delighted. She also says that the friend to lover arc with Mal and Alina. So that feels like it's on track for you to like those characters.
Yeah, for sure. I find that the older that I get, the more I just like just good guys, decent guys. Like I want them to win. I really do. These like tortured anti-heroes. I don't know.
There's a trope that can die out then.
Yeah, for me. A lot of people love them, but not me.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Go to therapy.
I'm just going to check, make sure we don't have any more questions in our chat. And Andrea, do you have any questions?
I think that's everything I had.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sheena, again, for this wonderful chat. This was our CKBL's first live Zoom program. What a way to kick it off. I don't know how Andrea and I are going to top this one. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. It was so nice to meet you virtually. Tanya, our CEO, says, thank you for the fabulous meet and greet. And it was so nice to see you virtually. Best of luck with everything post-COVID. Hopefully you get to do some of those events that you didn't get to do. I know that a bunch of them got canceled right as COVID was happening. So
yeah.
And if anybody hasn't had a chance to read Sheena's books, you can get them all through CKPL. We highly recommend that you do. If you don't know how to get them, ask one of us and we'd be happy to help you.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for asking me to do this and for choosing the books. I'm so honored by that. And it's been great to connect. So if anyone has any questions that you didn't want to ask tonight, if you send me messages through social media or whatnot, I'm not great at checking them, but I do check them sometimes. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have. So yeah, this was fabulous. Thank you.